Let's talk about different data types in programming. So far, you have seen sentences and you have seen numbers. With sentences, we always start them with quotation marks, and we can put our sentences inside. With numbers, we just write down the numbers. Now, what if we were to put a number inside of our quotation mark? Does the computer see this statement as a sentence, or does the computer see the statement as a number? And so one way we can check is with the print statement. What if in the print statement we say 8 plus 5? And if we run this, what do you think is going to be outputted? Well, if I run it, what we get is 8 plus 5. So the computer did not actually calculate the result, it just repeated back that phrase. So in this case, whatever you put into your quotation marks, such as 8 plus 5, the computer sees that as a sentence, not as something to calculate. In computer language, sentences, so again, quotation marks, they are referred to as strings. And sometimes we refer to them as str. Numbers, just like in real life, come in different shapes. You have integers, which is just like 1, 2, 3, -5, -3, just whole numbers. But you also have something called floats, which includes decimal numbers. So like 2.2 or 7.8, anything like that. Now, these data types also apply to variables. So in the previous video, we saw a couple of variables. Now let's create two variables here. So let's create a variable first number, and let's just say that that is equal to 8. And the second variable will be second number, and that is going to be 2, for example. Okay, so both of these numbers, 8 and 2, do not have quotations around them, which tells us that it's a number, but also the number 8, it's in green, and number 2 is also green. So that means that the computer sees these values, these things, as numbers, not as strings. Which means that we can create a third variable, for example, result, and the value of the result will just be first number, and you add the second number to it. Right? So we're just doing a simple addition here. And now I can just print result. And my expectation here is that it's going to print the number 10 because 8 plus 2 is 10. And that is what I got. So in this case, we have a variable and then a plus symbol and then another variable. Because both of these variables are just numbers, that means this plus symbol is actually going to add these values. So it's going to say 8 plus 2, which is 10, and that is what we get in our console. But if the 8 was actually in quotation marks, and if the 2 was in quotation marks as well, then we still have first number, then we have the plus symbol and the second number. But in this case, we don't know how to add two sentences, right? Because these are in quotes, so we see these as words or sentences or letters. We don't see them as numbers. So when we have a plus, we are not adding them, we are now joining the first number with the second number. So if I print this out, I will get 82, or 8 and 2. So now the plus is no longer addition, it's just joining. Now what if the first number was a string and the second number was a number? What would the computer do here? We would have a sentence, then the plus symbol, and then we have a number. So do we join them or do we add them? Well, what will happen if we run this is we will get an error, because the computer does not know what to do with a number and a sentence. So in this case, what we would have to do is convert one of these variables so that it matches the other variable's data type. So in this case, what we could do is we could convert the first number, which is a string because it has quotation marks. We can convert it to an integer or a float. And the way we do this is we put first number into a command float, we open bracket, we close bracket, and now we are converting the number 8, which is a sentence, into the actual number as we know it, and then we would be adding it to the second number, which is already a number. So in this case, we would just get 10. Or what we could do instead is, instead of converting the first number into a float or a number, what we could do is convert the second number into a string, so into a sentence. And the way you do this is you type in str, you open a bracket, you put the variable into the bracket, and you close the bracket. And in this case, we would be not adding, but now we are joining the first number, which is a sentence, with the second number, which is now converted to a sentence as well. And so in this case, we will again get 82.